Good morning, Steve Conley.
Dan, how the heck are you?
Hey, you sound surprised to see me. I mean, don't we
I am.
normally do that? Well, we didn't do it last Sunday because I had a
I am. I'm not surprised. But actually, after 2 weeks, I think maybe I am a little bit surprised.
had a pet emergency, but everything's fine now.
And they're fine.
Yeah, Jolene, that little puppy I showed here a couple months ago, who is now giant in all sorts of ways, and nicknamed Moose. She got into my meds. And being a man of my age, there are a lot of them. Now, she only took 2 days worth. But we're talking diabetes, cholesterol,
Oh my goodness.
blood pressure, and depression. So at least she didn't mind it.
Well, that's because you wrap all your pills in bacon. That's your problem.
That's the only way I'll take them. Hence the cholesterol.
Sure.
No, but it was kind of scary, and $836 later, she's fine. And
wow.
Yeah, emergency vet and IVs, and they cleared her out, and they had to check her blood sugar levels and make sure she didn't, and all sort of stuff. But and then I'm also down one day by day. Hey, Whoever Wolf, thanks for coming. I'm also down one of those day, pill cases that you saw me on our last vacation together.
Oh gosh, really? Took the whole thing?
Yeah, she ate one of those.
Oh my goodness.
But it was on a Friday or Thursday, so she only ate Friday and Saturday. So
did it happen at 11 o'clock at night when all the vets are closed? It's usually when things go wrong with my pets.
No, it happened early in the morning on Thursday, I believe, while I was at work, and our vet didn't have room for her, so we had to take an emergency vet across town in Nashville. So hence so anyway, it's over. She's fine. This is a dog, mind you, that I got from friends for free from the owner of the comedy club that I do the Catacombs, a comedian show at.
All right.
And so far, besides just feeding this monstrosity, we had to build a fence in our backyard to keep her contained. So that's $3,000. We took her to obedience training where she went for a couple weeks, and that's another $3,000. This emergency. So this free dog, there's no such thing in life as free. And plus, she's chewed our walls. She's
it'd be cheaper to send her to community college.
She's eating carpet and rugs, and she's, God bless. I love Jolene. I do. I'll have her on the show sometime to show how big she is. But we're talking 65 pounds of dog now, at least. Maybe she weighs more than my 8-year-old kid, I think.
Fantastic.
So anyway,
and how old is she now?
8 months.
My goodness. Fantastic.
So enough about the dogs. Why in the hell are we here, Steve?
The hell we're here. The hell why we are here. The why hell we are here is we're supposed to be roaming the labyrinth of creativity.
I am lost.
Muses and the Muses. What's that?
I am lost in this labyrinth.
Are you?
Marco.
I keep seeing the Facebook posts from you and the various social media posts where your many plates are being spun.
I like that you see them. I also appreciate the fact that you don't like them or share them. I appreciate that a lot. Thanks.
If I see them, I like them. You know that for sure. But I do feel like the social media is, I've talked about this before. Social media is mostly useless.
Yeah.
It's one thing, because if all we do is promote ourselves, I know it's Mazes and Muses. We always kind of find our way over into the promotion side of things, which kind of is probably the opposite of creativity.
Roaming the labyrinth of promotions.
Yeah. But that part of it is like, anytime you promote yourself, you're telling the algorithm to not share your stuff as widely. And so people have, I feel like there's certain things that you just kind of sit on until the last second. And then you promote only when there's something actionable to respond to. Like,
no, I agree.
I've launched a campaign, or there's certain ones like, I have never done a Facebook story. The idea of adding something, because I know that when I finally do that, it's going to get widely disseminated. when I launch the next collection of the Middle Age. Not for any of my role playing game stuff, but when I do my next collection of my webcomic, I'll mention that there, because I think take advantage of the fact that the system wants to encourage me to use more of their dumb mechanisms. So anyone who uses it too often, like that stupid tagging system in Facebook of like @everyone or @highlight.
Oh yeah.
They're pests, and I feel terrible. But when they use it, I like silence them for 30 days, or I've disabled the feature now, so I don't see it. But the whole idea that I mentioned that I didn't like it, and the people who defended it were the ones who were using it too often. I wasn't calling them out; I was calling the system out. But the ones who felt like they needed to defend it, it was like, it's just a nuisance.
No, and it's always a letdown, because it's like, hey, so and so is contacting you, and I'm like, me? They love me? They want to? No, it's everyone.
Well, and then it's anyone who sends me a friend request while they're in the middle of a campaign, a Kickstarter campaign.
Wow, thank you, Maddie.
Hey, Maddie, that's very nice. Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I think, but the trouble is, so many people, we talk about this all the time, and just they're any fledgling creator, they spend more time promoting than they do creating. It seems to be a terrible imbalance. And the best thing, I feel lucky as a webcomic creator and as a TTRPG creator, creating smaller bite-sized things. I think if I just did one book a year, my social media would be dead. But by doing these tiny things where I can say, hey, here's a new thing that I've just released, or here's a new monster that I've just created, or here's a new, like you do with your, here's an example of the latest thing I've done.
Here's the map of the thing I'm working on.
Yeah. Or because you're showing not the promise of something.
The progress.
The progress.
Progress, not promise. That's our new motto.
And it's also not saying, here's something you've seen before. I think it's okay to retweet it once. But because AM crowd, PM crowd, West Coast crowd, East Coast crowd, that sort of thing.
And also weekend crowd, weekday crowd. That's
fair. But by and large, repeating yourself is indistinguishable from spam, as far as I can tell. But the Nightbot's doing all that work.
Yeah, well, we got that. It's our most devoted viewer, the Nightbot. Night of the Nightbots. Okay. .com. Done.
You have another browser open. There's like network solutions. You're just always reserving new domain names.
Yeah, I got to get my domain names when I think
macro.
of them. All right, so let's talk about creativity. Steve Conley, who the hell are you, and what do you create?
I'm Steve Conley. I write and draw the webcomic The Middle Age. 299 episodes are free to read online. And I also create role-playing game content, specifically for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I've created 2 supplements so far. Intoximancy, which was my first one and shockingly received an Emmy nomination. And then Death Dealing, which is the next one. And then I just finished a Kickstarter campaign for The Prayer's Handbook, which I'm in production of right now. I'm still illustrating monsters. And they're coming along pretty well, I think.
Before I forget, I need you to send me Grognard information so I can get that adventure together.
Not only am I going to send you that, I'm going to send you this. So nice. I'm going to package this guy up for you. If you want to bring him with you, but this is yours to keep. You want to put this on the shelf? If it's ever worth, it's not Klingon, but
fit it back here. Well, I changed that shelf out, so.
But that is yours. I'm going to package that guy up, and I'll include a tube of glue in case it falls apart on the way.
As opposed to the other tube we had on our last trip. Never mind. Move along.
I can't get past the idea you've got Klingon antlers.
Watch I take off this neat Catacombs and Comedian hat and they come off as well. No. All right. So Grognard, you'll get that to me. So that's what you create. Good stuff. Thanks a lot, people. See you later.
But Dan, Maddie says, I'm not slagging on creating for profit here, but if everything is built on production cycles, then that can easily undermine quality control and creativity.
Good point.
Dan, I've got a question for you. Who the hell are you?
Who the hell am I? Well, if you've seen anything I create, you know that I don't do it for profit. I create for recognition, maybe. We've talked about that. How my big drive for creating is just to be, hey, that's good job, Dan. What are you doing next?
Affirmation.
Yes. I am Dan Taylor. I am a dungeon master, supposedly a professional dungeon master since I've gotten paychecks for it. I DM live comedy shows at comedy clubs and conventions. Comedy clubs is Catacombs and Comedians, where I take stand-up comics. We all sit down on a table and play D&D poorly. And then at conventions, I take tabletop role-playing game creators and DM them the same sort of fun adventures. And that's what I do. So on my DMing side, and then I also create content for that, which I share, and I create other content for other tabletop RPGs, D&D type stuff. And I write, and I raise a child and the aforementioned dog and 2 cats, and happily married. And there you go.
That's what the hell you do.
That's what the hell I do.
Fantastic. Well, what's been on? It's been 2 weeks since our last episode. I was at the Central Florida Comic-Con 2 weeks ago, and then last week we had Jolene's latest investment
overdose.
Yeah, and so what have you been up to?
I got shit done, Steve. I actually got shit done. Here's the thing. Here, let me show this off. Let's talk about 4D20 first.
Please.
4D20, for those of you that don't know, is a system I'm putting together to crowdfund. It's an RPG game. It's obviously cannabis or 420 friendly. Though you don't need to be stoned to play it, though it might help. I'm definitely marketing this more as a beer and pretzel type of RPG. It's not a long campaign type of thing. It's a one-shot type of thing, because if you're playing it right, you're not going to remember playing it. So I got work on that. I think I may have shown you some of this before, but I've got some more variations of it. Let me start finding buttons to present. Let's share a screen. I'm going to share this first. This is the dice bag. And this is a promo for the 4D. What's that? You do not approve of that pun?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh no. I thought I gave you I think you earned a LOL.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So
all caps LOL.
This is the little promo thing I'm going to have at GaryCon because GaryCon is happening before it launches. So I'm hoping if I hand these bags out with some stickers, and obviously I'll put the 4 20-sided dice in them, not the fancy dice I want to make because it's too expensive and I can't do it. So just random 4D20s in there. So I got that going, but also on the 4D20 side, I always sort of gauge a role-playing game on its character sheet. I figure you need if you can understand the character sheet without reading the rules, more or less, you might, if you get an idea of what the game, that's
for sure.
That's what. So I started work on the 4D20 character sheet. I haven't written all the rules yet, but I figure if I make the character sheet and then write the rules around it, then that's how I work. I'm backwards.
No, I think that's completely reasonable. And also, as your experience as an author, you kind of build the story around the characters sometimes. So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I usually write around dialogue. I just come up with fun dialogue and come up with a story around the dialogue. So anyway, let me share this little image with you real quick. This is just a little early stage. I'm gonna make it a little more fancy and stuff like that.
A bud, if you would.
A bud, yes. Just take here. Have a quick toke of this, would you? So here's the top. Character's name. Kind. I am using that as my race species in this. Are you elven kind? Are you dwarven kind? Does that make sense?
Indeed.
Role is your class. Now these are all kind of puns on it because kind bud, you roll, I'm
unfamiliar with that culture, Dan. I'm an innocent.
That's why you are my underling, my minion, my sidekick. Stay with me, young Padawan, and I will show you the ways.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm all right.
But anyway, so roll. This is where I've got 4 classes in this because every pot smoking game. Now, again, you don't need to smoke pot to play this game. It's very Ralph Bakshi 70s style. Needs a wizard. So there's a wizard, there's a warrior, there's a monk, and there is a rogue type character. Now, I think I changed the rogue to scoundrel, and the monk might be a disciple. But those are the 4 things, 4 classes. Plain and simple. I don't want to have too many or too much. Just keep it like that. Plus, it goes along. Everything is done in 4s or 20s in this game. So you got 4 classes. Way. Now, this is which way, kind of the Mandalorian, that is the way, or whatever they say. The way, there's 3 ways. You're either way of sativa, way of indica, way of hybrid. And that gives you bonuses and minuses to your character, much like kind or roll might as well. 4 stats: mind, body, soul, and spirit. That's it. The MOR and the MDR you see there, and the COR and the CDR, that is your mental or magic offensive rating and mental and magic defensive rating. I got core is your combat offensive rating. And so rather than have an armor class, armor does help, and everything. It's just how well you defend. That's basically a minus that the character attacking you will have on their roll. Your CDR, that's defense. On offense is your plus, so you have in combat. So there you go. That's the basics of the game right there. Physical, melee, and range combat. This is magic or mental combat.
Excellent.
THC, everything pot related need THC. The higher the THC, the better. Hence total health count. These are your hit points. There you go. That's the first sneak peek on the mechanics and the way and how the game is coming together. Any questions, class?
Well, excellent. Yeah.
Nope. Okay, we'll move on.
Yeah, I think that's that's great. How do you determine how? So, one of the things that I've heard about designing character sheets was that the things that are largest on the page are what's most important to the character. So, like a player sits down, the card they get in front of them. So that their health count is the most important thing.
That's your hit points, yeah. And I also made it bigger so you can, pencil in and erase and scrape and just, give you workspace to show your work.
And how do you balance the idea of it being kind of a one shot, like a one evening game, or maybe a 2 evening game? How do you, what is the idea that they just have to make the rules, you streamline the rules to the point where it's not going to take, in D&D, you could spend all evening making one character, but do you want to, is this a thing where you're supposed to take 10 minutes? Do you have a goal in mind to say,
well, one of the things I was planning on putting in this is instead of level, potency, how potent your character is. And it's either mild, medium, or heavy, or whatever terms I use. So that's like, okay, you got your 1st to 3rd level character, your 4th to 6th level character, and your 7th to 9th level character. It could be the same character, but a more potent one would have higher values on all their skills and stuff. So if I as DM go, hey, Steve, get you and your pothead buddies together. We're going to play some high fantasy tonight. It's a high potency game. So get your Spicoli, the ravioli guy. Get your high potency character to play tonight. And then, 2 weeks down the lines, we might play a low potency game where you'll have your Spicoli ravioli character, but you'll have the low potency. So and like again, you're not building, you're not looking to, maybe down the line there'll be a campaign, supplement or mod to this to, okay, this is how you can turn this into a huge campaign ongoing and raise in levels and stuff like that, but not now.
Do players roll up stats? Is there a point buy system? What is the method for that?
You roll, it's 2d4. And Yeah, I've got a little cheat sheet, but I'm not ready to show that to people yet. But it's basically 2d4. It's very D&D. If you play D&D 5e, it's very much like that, except trimmed down to the basics. Gandalf the Green, exactly. It's trimmed down to the basic. Wait till if you haven't, Maddie, if you haven't seen the image, go to whatever it says, sign up to be notified of the launch of the 4D20 high fantasy system. You will see Gandalf the Green there. The Nightbot has told you where to go. What was the question?
The question was how rolling up characters, and then you were talking about how it's very similar to 5e but streamlined.
Yeah, so my 4 abilities work very much like the 6 abilities in D&D. My hip THC works very much like HP in D&D. The chant, I use 4d20 instead of 1d20 to rolls to see if you succeed. And it's how many, but you still go for a target number. Like like if you need to get a 12 on a D20 in D&D, you might still need to get a 4, or you might need to get a 12 on the 4d20. You roll all 4 d20s. If you don't get enough over that 12, you don't succeed. If you get a bunch over that 12, you succeed really well. That's basically the difference. Does that make sense?
Sure. A dice pool, but with 20-sided dice. Yeah.
But without having to add anything, or I'm not adding. You don't have to averages and that. So it's, again, this is made for people, to just chill.
Excellent.
RPG and chill. Ooh, they're RPG.
Get the domain.
So that is my 4D20 portion of the show. What do you got going?
I'm still in the illustration stage. Well, I'm mostly in the illustration stage of doing the meta domain, the Prayer's Handbook. I had this idea of adding some extra monsters to it, and I kind of put some aside, and kind of I'm trying to squeeze everything into the 32 pages of the book because I don't want to increase my costs. Wow, my New Yorker almost came out. My costs. But I realized one of the things I really liked about Intoximancy, my first one, was that I had those Flagonborn. I had like a Hobgoblet, and I had a Tankard, and all these creatures which were thematically tied in a way to the magic item that the characters get. These subclass books I'm doing, each one includes that your subclass gets a magic item when you choose the subclass. And so with the Intoximancer, it was their flagon. And so their Intoximancer's flagon levels up with them and all that stuff. And there's a decision tree as the thing improves in power. And so the Death Dealer Rogue had that, and the Metadomain Cleric has that with their copy of the Prayer's Handbook. And so I wanted to have magic books that are animated and evil as well. So we've got the Manual Monster, we've got the Folio Fiend, we've got the Codex Creature. So you've got these magic books that are, again, total nod to the source material we grew up on. And they're really fun. They were fun to sketch and fun to draw, and they're super simple in that, just like those creatures I had for the Tankard only had one trick. The Hobgoblet basically had one trick. These aren't meant to be super complicated creatures. I want them to be like the kobolds or goblins, but I also want to give them just a little spice, so they're not just they're not just a pile of hit points coming at you and swinging an axe. They have to be a little different. Like one, when it attacks, you fail the saving throw, it eats one of your lowest level spell slots. So if you had a level 1 spell slot and you fail this fairly low DC save, you lose a spell slot. It consumes a spell slot. So or if you fail there's one that poisons you. That's an easy one because poison is so overpowered in D&D. Disadvantage on attacks and saving throws. Yeah, so they're fun. So I'm in the middle of illustrating those right now. I think they're finished. They're not quite ready. I don't have them plugged into the computer to share with you. They're still on my iPad, but I'll be sharing those on the Kickstarter update and on Patreon and on Discord. So, but you might have, if you popped into my Twitch channel, you would have seen me working on those things.
Cool. But okay, so now Nibblemancy. When is that launching?
That's the next one. That'll launch before the end of the month. The idea is the PDFs. I'm not going to lie. If I miss Zine Quest, I miss Zine Quest. But I don't plan on it. I want to deliver. It's really important to me that I deliver the previous project before I launch the next one. So at the very least, everyone's going to get the PDF in their inbox before I launch the next campaign.
I think that's fine.
Yeah, I think that has to be. I mean, basically, if the PDF is being sent out, that means that everything else is going to be in production. The T-shirts, I just locked orders. I think it happened overnight. So the campaign ended 3 weeks ago. It takes 2 weeks for Kickstarter to collect the money. Once the money was collected, and basically they passed the information along to me and said, okay, here's the cards that went through. Here are the cards that didn't go through. I was then able to plug that into BackerKit. Then I had BackerKit send out the surveys. It takes them a while to give time for. So far, maybe 90% of the people have responded. And then once people respond, then we lock orders. That's the process. So people respond, and then we go, okay, this is your final call. Any changes? And then when the orders are locked, then the next thing is to charge the cards for anyone who paid a little bit extra, bought some other stuff. And then the last thing is locking addresses for physical orders, which will probably go out next week. Because again, the book should be done once I finish these illustrations. So much of the meta domain is, I'm pouring everything into it. Not only is it got the page layouts are they're over the top, where the marginalia has got little sketches, like it's inside your crazy, because the concept of the meta domain cleric is that it's a cleric who, I've said before, a cleric who thinks this is all just a game. And the idea is at level 1, you find this book, and this book is kind of part of what goes, oh, wait a minute, wait, this is all just a game. And as you level up, you kind of unpack what that means. And it can mean different things depending on how the person plays it. But I did things like the marginalia and the captions. Like previously, I would have had a picture of like a spell, and it would have said, or a magic item, and it's fine print. It says this is the pint pot of pink pachyderms, or something like that, for seeing pink elephants and intoximancy. In this case, it's more like, let me tell you all about this meta domain cleric. It's a little bit about them, like, oh, this is what they believe and what they think, is kind of maybe inspiration for how you role play. So it's adding this other layer of it. It's kind of like comics in that you have a picture and then you've got a caption, and and they play off each other in a way that it's not simply just picture and then description of the picture you can see. Most captions are basically alt text. They're basically the descriptive text that would go with a web graphic. But adding something to it, doing more than what a caption normally does is fun. And I'm adding all sorts of things like little questions in the notes. Not Sergio Aragonés Mad Magazine level, but I don't know. Hopefully fun. Hopefully. I
want that in the next book, though.
More work. No, I have to.
Sergio. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I got a great Sergio story to tell you sometime, but
all right, I'm in.
Has there ever been a Gru the Wanderer video or role playing game?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's been going on about 30 years.
At least. Okay. I regress.
If not, reach out to them and get that and work it in a 40-20 or come up with your own.
Gru the Wanderer RPG.com. Let's see. So let's talk about crowdfunding a little bit. 40-20 will be crowdfunded through BackerKit. You said you don't know if you're going to do Zine Quest. I think I've officially written Zine Quest off. I just,
I am 95% sure. I'm actually 99% sure, because I will wrap this up. Metadomain is just me noodling at this point and collecting the addresses so I know where to send it. But once the PDF is out there and all the orders are placed, the one of the things that's key for me is I try to keep people updated as where I am, and that's why I think the audiences will be supportive of the next thing I do. But I tell everyone, hey, don't support it till you receive the goods in the mail. I don't want to be one of these guys who kind of has them overlapping.
And I'm not, and maybe I'll slip out a little zine before the end of February, but it won't be on the Kickstarter Zine Quest type thing.
Something you put over on a drive-through?
Yeah, I'll just say, look, here's what I did. get it if you want it, type of thing. Maybe it'll be a little introduction to 4D20 called the Rolling Papers,
or promote the one you just did. I mean, you just did one that kind of like off season. You did the Dirk of Many Stings. I mean, even if you just started telling people, hey, Zine Quest, I just did this one, because you didn't post that with much fanfare.
No, I just kind of threw it up there and see if, I spent a week working on it because it's something I had to get out of my system, and threw it up there.
Totally worth mentioning to people.
No, yeah. But here's what I'm doing. So I'm getting ready for the backer kit campaign for 4D20, which will launch on April 20th, which is 420. For those of you that don't know your months, or the significance of April 20th. And at 4:20 in the a.m., it'll launch. I think you could use cents. You don't have to use whole dollars in backer kit. So I think I will have a something for $4.20, if possible. I'm running this thing into the ground. I'm beating this dead horse as much as I can. But to get ready for that and help promote that, because I've got the landing page and the links have shown up during our conversation in the various chats on Zero Level, on Facebook, and on the YouTubes and on the Twitch that we're on. But backer kit, and I got an invite to do it, so I said, "What the hell? Why not?" They, in the month of March, they have what's called Pintopia.
Sure.
And since I've done a pin before with the Catacombs and Comedians logo, I said, why don't I do this? And hopefully that, will help build. I can help build a list for the other campaign I'm running later in April. So I'm using this kind of a springboard because they're going to do a lot of promotion behind this pin. So I've already got this pin made.
Mm-hmm.
And I got another pin that I designed another logo that I've already designed that I've been meaning to make into a pin anyway. So I'm saying, hey, why not do it? Let me see if I can bring it up real quick. Where are we? That's not it. Give me one moment. I got too many windows here.
We'll edit this out in post.
We'll always fix it in post. That's what we always do. What am I doing here? Let's go here. I don't know where I am. I don't know what I'm looking at. Professional show here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But that's why we got all the viewers. They like this, the charm we have, so to speak. Right?
Is that what this is?
Yeah. Here it is. That's my landing page. Just to place her right now. I got to add more to it. The thing. So I'm going to do this as my pin.
What is this? What is can you zoom in?
Dice are my vice. And those are the old school colors of the old dice that they used to have back in the day.
Sure.
So there you go. Just I'm using this as, because I'm not really a pin maker, but I figured it might be good, and I could do the 420 pin on once I got pins I can do. I got the logo, me and logos. I've got tons of branding. And they're all simple enough design since I do most of them that they easily convert into an enamel pin. So
that's great.
So I'm using Pintopia 2 to hopefully build an audience for 4D20 that comes the month following. What else you got?
Well, it is Zine Quest, and so there's tons of zines out there. So have you placed an order for any of these ones out there? Any ones that move you?
I haven't yet. I haven't. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to kind of go through and look for people I know who have them. Like all those guys, the great crew that we met at Gamehole Con.
Mm-hmm.
See what they've got cooking. Jump on some of theirs, perhaps.
Supporting your friends.
Yeah. Because I basically support almost any of my friends on any of their things. And with the, hope that they support my efforts as well, which is, present company excluded is not often the case. And I guess you shouldn't do that, but I'm not trying to guilt anybody into do it, but I like to be as supportive as I can for everybody. But yeah, I haven't really. Have you seen any zines that you're digging yet?
Oh yeah, quite a few. I'm watching a lot of them. I've supported a couple already. One that I really like is called Grotten, 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 and it is a 1-bit. It's designed to look like those old video games back when the computers were just 1-bit, like the old Macs.
Okay.
And so aesthetically, it's really interesting. It doesn't look particularly complicated, but the aesthetic is so good that I had to support it. There was another one that had such a great title that I had to support it. I don't even know if it has any application. I don't plan to. I can't even foresee how I could use it in a game that I'm running or playing or anything like that. It's called Thrifty Trades of Fae. It is such a weird pun of 50 Shades of Grey. It's just that it's just a shop, a magic shop that has magic items and they're Fae themed, and it's just called Thrifty Trades of Fae. And that is so there's so much work went into the title, and it's so clever that I'm like, I gotta support that. So, but it's things like that. I'm looking for things that aesthetically, they can't use AI. So they have to be handmade, hand illustrated, or at least illustrated by hand. You can use computers. But that's the only real constraint I have. What's that?
Caveat.
Yeah, but then I'm going to go through there. I think I've allocated some money. I've set aside, okay, here's X amount of dollars. I'm just going to go through and spend it all and see if there's fun things. And then over the course of the next few months, or next, of course, the next year, they'll arrive in the mail and I'll get these little surprises.
That's what I plan on doing. I've got a budget, so to speak, my beer money, my zine money, that I'll just, like this weekend, I'll go through and pick a couple. Next weekend, I'll probably, because they're staggering. They're not all released at once. So I'll go through and pick out, a couple, just if not, odds are not to use in any game. But again, like we've talked about, a lot of it is inspiration. A lot of it is, utilizing these zines as muses to make my own zines. Like, oh, they did this. How could I not copy, but how can I utilize something similar? Or how can I, that was such a good idea. I wish I would have thought of it first. Now I got to think of an idea that's better than that idea.
We are wired so differently. I love it. I love it. I like getting them just because I almost find that almost everything I look at is almost inapplicable to what I'm doing. Because Groton is so different than what I'm doing, and Thrifty Trades of Fae is like to me that's already perfect. How do you top that? It's I guess if you go, oh, well, maybe it says, because you are definitely so much more I don't know, multifaceted in what you're trying to do. Like you'll do pins, and then you'll do it seems like there's so many different directions, and you kind of at least like tendrils going out in different places, and like almost like feelers. Like, will this work? Will that work? Will this work? And I saw when you posted to 4020 to one of the Facebook groups, and the reaction to it was so positive. I thought Dan's going to set up shop there. You set up all these feelers, and you're like, okay, maybe, and then this one hits, and you're like, okay, I'm here, like Catacombs and Comedians did, and continues to do. So yeah, that's really interesting that you could look at those things. Like you go into a shop, and you're like, it's not just it's almost like utilitarian. Like this is almost like this is a business expense. Yeah, I'm buying this as a thing that might be a resource to mine. So really interesting.
No, and to be honest with you, back in my comic book buying days, when I was doing comics, I shied away from a lot of the big two, not because, oh, that's Marvel and DC. I don't, just because they're doing what they've always done and nothing's changing there. But the indie books, I go, oh, that looks so effing cool. I may never read it, but I like how they set up this panel,
Sure.
These pages. I got to remember, I got to put that away and utilize that somehow, again, I'm not ripping anybody off. That's not my plan. But it's, if somebody comes up with a good way to do it, like, okay, like I know how well you know the NFL, Steve.
Yeah, inside out.
NFL coaching now is more
That's the
going,
Taylor Swift sport, right?
yes, is going more towards coaching is going more analytical, and the old school coaching,
the Moneyball thing,
going out, yeah, kind of in a way, rather than Moneyball. They did the sort of what can we get for we pay this dollar and all that, which is a great book. If you haven't read the book, it's an awesome book, even if you don't like baseball. But that's the one guy comes out and starts doing analytical coaching. Other teams start doing analytical. They're not, ripping that guy off for doing analytical coaching. If somebody, so I've kind of all these cool ideas that I made last time. It's just a game changer.
Right. Well, you can't patent a system. But
yeah,
it's I get that.
I'm not going to steal someone's trade dress.
Right. But you can't. Yeah, exactly. But you can't patent a system. So if someone comes up with a new system, you go, oh, okay, that's a good system, and
this works for what I've been working on. And of course, I'm not going to just say I invented it either. And I would like to be in contact with, and that's why I would buy some from them for Kickstarter. Say, look, I support you.
Yeah,
because I might be utilizing something similar or something that you have.
Someone who apparently Intoximancy and Death Dealing was as inspiring some folks, because I've seen some Kickstarters that look like they just copied mine, pasted it in, and changed. It's the language I wrote. It's not like I didn't look at somebody else and go, I should make it like that. I'm just sitting there going, okay, what is the thing what do I want to do? What do I want to see? And because mine were successful, I don't mean successful in a Matt Colville sense or in a game sense.
They worked.
They worked for, I think they might be inspiring for someone who's saying, okay, I'm just one person. I want to create something in my second bedroom that reaches an audience. They did that. And clearly people have, so now I see it. And one guy wrote me saying, listen, Steve, I supported your projects and totally inspired what I did. And I looked at their campaign page and I'm like, yeah, I did inspire that.
You're going to have to share that link with me later.
I will. And I supported their project too. And I just recently got it. And they're doing their own thing.
Dyson Maps is a good example. They designed some great maps. Mm-hmm. And everybody has designed Dyson local maps after that. In a sense. Yeah. So,
well, a style, absolutely, because that's the trouble. It's just like a system. Style is not something you can, like the image comic style became a thing, and there's a ton of people who try to draw like that because you might not be Rob Liefeld.
Without feet.
You might not
pouches.
Pouches, the hyperextended figures,
pointy chins,
the asymmetrical shoulder guards that are large guns with infinite barrels, and all sorts of shines on everything. That aesthetic was so popular that a lot of people are like, I'm going to draw like that. Not just because they're like, I'm chasing a dollar. You did see Herb Trimpe and guys like that, veterans, Bronze Age guys and Silver Age guys who were like, that's the popular style. I'm a workman. I'm going to draw like that.
Yeah.
And that's not going like I'm aping a style. That's saying if this is what kids want today, that's what I'm going to draw. But then there's also people who are like they're just such deep fans of that. They learn to draw by looking at that, and so of course they draw like that. My drawings when I was a kid looked like Jack Kirby, looked like I was imitating Jack Kirby, and they looked like they were imitating, Will Sportasio or something like that.
One of my earlier D&D or tabletop creations, the Metal Kettle Tea Shop,
sure,
was very much a product of the time when I did it. It's a tea shop. It's a tavern setting, but I said, let's make it a tea shop. Because at that time, D&D 5e was popular, and it's still popular. But I mean, it's the Critical Role was really starting to take off at that point, and everybody's talking about their tiefling bards, which I'm not a fan of, but it definitely had that kind of, and it was more, I mean, for lack of a better word, it was less grognardy than it is, at that time, and it's still, but I definitely kind of went that style with something. Would I do it? I've kind of embraced my older school RPG, but I still love 5th edition so well. So I'm doing 5e for grognards kind of thing is more my style, like the making fun of jokes, kind of the inside jokes in Catacombs and Comedians or Catacombs and Creators, and sort of the, rather than let's be, cute and whimsical type of stuff that D&D kind of was steering towards 7 years ago or so. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. It's interesting. So at the time you were looking at what's popular now, and I'm like, okay, maybe I should do something for that audience. Again, sending out a feeler to see if this hits, and if that thing had blown up, you'd be the tea shop guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, since nobody here heard about it, it hasn't blown up. So
well, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
But I had fun doing it, and that's why I do most of these things. I am never going to pay my mortgage or feed my family on money I make creating for tabletop role-playing games.
Do you wish you had done something else instead of the tea shop?
Nah, it was fun. I had a good time doing it, and I'm proud of it when all is said and done. That's
great. That's key, I think.
Yeah. That's all. Yeah. An old idea that I had. Now it's time to pitch this. An old idea I had 16 years ago. It's called Pirate Tales, a comic book. I wrote 5 issues of the comic book. 2 were published through IDW. Then they canceled the series. So this last 2 weeks since you and I didn't talk, I finished it. The novella. It's done.
Wow.
I've been sitting on it. I've been working on it for the last year or two, but now it's all done. Let me ask you what you think of this cover.
When we last talked, didn't you say like it was like 1/5 of the way done or something like that?
Of my edits, yeah. So now it's completely edited, and I've sent it out to beta readers. So far, my one good friend of 49 years, it says good so far. So I can put that on the cover. Best friend best friend ever, BFF, good so far. But here it is. This is Pirate Tales. Again, no crowdsourcing for this. I'm just probably quietly put it up on Amazon and see what happens.
Yeah, I think that logo, was that logo used in the comic?
No, something similar was. I made it a little grittier, and actually drew this over an actual rat skull, and then put ears on it. And yeah,
fantastic. I like that it's simple. I would adjust the letter spacing on the A, T, and the T and the A up top.
Yep.
Tighten it up. The kerning. But other than that, yeah, it's the key is to shrink it down to see how it looks on Amazon, if that's where you're going to put it.
Right.
Because that's what everyone's going to see. They're just going to see that thumbnail scrolling past them at the speed of light.
So that's why, I think the white will out of the black, and then everybody recognizes a Jolly Rancher, Jolly Roger. But yeah, that is done, and I'm going to.
Congratulations!
I got a novella done, and I'll print some copies and bring to the RPG things, because it's a very RPG type of thing. I mean, they're rats that are pirates.
And no interest in making, or is it a thing? Okay, so in Dan world, you send this out there, you're intentionally, I can't tell, intentionally or otherwise, not going to make a big deal about it.
I mean, I'm not, like I said, there's no crowdfunding. There's no going to be any promotion. Maybe I'll do $50 of Facebook ads and, $50 of Amazon ads.
Are you going to, so you're not going to promote it. You're going to promote it a little bit, but then move on to the next thing, because your eye is Sauron's eye is fixed on 4D20 at this point.
Yeah. And I'll print, and if this takes off, one of the reasons I'll bring it to game cons is somebody can read it and say, hey, this should be an RPG. And I go, yes, it should. Help me make it. Because this is something I don't want to tackle by myself, maybe.
So you're part of, that's an interesting question too about collaboration. Is that something you invite? Like you would look to collaborate with most of these things, with everything? Or is it a thing where,
some.
Yeah, I feel like everything I have to do myself because I'm terrible. As you well know, I'm terrible to work with.
Yeah. But no, it's like I've got the IP. I've created the IP. It is a definite IP. The 5 comic book scripts, the 2 published comic books, and now this novella. There's a flavor to it. There's a theme to it. There is to it. So I think that's enough where if somebody looked at it and said, hey, this would make a great morph board type of game.
Right.
I'd go, okay, help me do it then. Let's do it. So I'm going to print up small runs of hard copies to have.
Hard copies. Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah. Just soft covers, nothing, I'm not, spending a ton of money on these things just to, and I'll sell them at shows if I ever have a table set up or, steal somebody's space at the table or have a co-op type of thing.
Right.
But Pirate Tales will finally be there. And see, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm so proud of it. I added my middle name.
Is that used in every situation moving forward? Or is that something just like that's your literary name?
It might, 4D20 might get the Leon added.
Yeah.
Because another writer friend of mine said, your middle name's Leon? Why the fuck aren't you using that?
It's cool.
Yeah. So I went, okay. I'm not going to go Daniel Leon the whole thing because I'm still a Dan, only a Dan. But yeah, when you do a book about pirates, you got if you have Leon in your back pocket, you got to throw it out there.
That's great.
So look for that. I don't know if I get any feedback if I can wait for feedback from my beta readers or if I've been sitting on this long enough. It's been 16 years since I originally wrote this concept up.
That's another question about creativity, about how long can you sit on something before you have to get it out there? Because that's another thing I would say that, again, I don't know. We only worked on one project together 15 years ago, 20 years ago, God, a million years ago. But I don't know, these personal projects, when you finished Dirk of Many Stings, but you're like, okay, I've crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's, publish. Or was it a thing where you were like, I should sit on this until the second quarter of 2024 and, align it to the film release of this other, how much, because the 4020s forced you to wait. And a lot of your catacombs and comedian stuff, you're like, oh, I gotta wait for, you're chomping at the bit, but like Gary Con's when Gary Con is, and so you'll wait. But how good are you? Or
I'll get it out just to get it out, even if it's not ready.
Even if it's not ready. All right.
I'm amazed I've sat on this as long as I have.
That's wild.
But I had this last couple of weeks, this is eating, because me, I'm the king of the back burner.
Yeah.
I've got them all over the place. And I just go, I got to get this off my back burner. I've got something else I got to put on the back burner.
So you don't obsess over these things. Again, that's the difference between us. Like I obsess over the whole thing. Like I'm like, yeah, it's ready, but I can't have this delivered to the customer until I have, everything's got to be just right. Every little noodling bit.
See, that's the artist in you.
And
I'm just
you're slinging hash.
Yeah. I'm more of an entertainer. You're more of an artist.
That's fair.
I'm more of a, let's get up there and tell some dick and fart jokes and, do a little improv and, work on banter. You're more of a, I want this to be perfect, exact.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, throw the spaghetti on the wall, and what sticks,
like,
sticks, and what doesn't. Yeah.
You have 30 other plates spinning. This has got to get out. I'm going to worry about the next thing. I was a short order cook for many years. I understand what it's like to have like, okay, you just make sure these things are hot at the same time, get them to the customer and move on to the next thing. You've got pancakes here, you've got eggs here, you've got bacon here. You got to get it all at the same time. So do you have, okay, let's jump in tracks a little bit here. You were looking at this year, I think maybe, I don't know if it counts as a resolution, but it's definitely something you mentioned a couple of times, being on a actual play. I think it's worth, I feel like it's worth hitting that note regularly in case someone's watching going, hey, Dan's available and
I do want to be on an actual play D&D or other tabletop RPG stream as a player, because I feel that I've done enough shows and live stages in clubs in front of live audience, and I've played tabletop RPGs for going on 50 years now. I'm okay at this. I do all right. And there's twofolds why I want to do that. A is because we've talked about how I want to be D&D famous. Not hiding that. B, so I can learn the tricks, so I can have a stream later and do more intense. Because I sent out 3 feelers today before we went on, Steve, to see who would join you in my Catacombs and Creators stream actual play, because I finally narrowed it down to the 3 people I wanted to ask besides you.
Oh wow, okay.
So I sent those out this morning. I already got one hell yes.
Hot damn.
And all 3 of them. So
wow.
So I think that how
ignorant I am, so that's amazing that I know them, because
the banter and camaraderie will work real well.
That's great. Is there a I love talking with you. Might have to wait till next week, because the idea, I really want to get back to the D&D famous thing, because that is so, again, I love that we're wired so differently. When did you want to be, when you were doing comics, did you want to be comic famous? And did that become D&D famous? Did it transmogrify at some point from, or has it, when you were doing stand-up back in the day, right?
I've never done stand-up, no.
Oh, I thought you did some stand-up. I thought you did some.
I worked in comedy clubs.
Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah, I worked I started out as a door guy and worked in management.
Did you have aspirations to be a comedian?
Kind of, yeah. I'm still an introvert, and it still scares the hell out of me. Like I've mentioned that. That's why I haven't done my own single stream yet. I'm like, I gotta do that. Like you do your thing. I gotta do it. I do it Sunday mornings or Saturday mornings with you, because I got you to, I'm just talking to you.
I have another friend. He's a D&D, my dungeon master. He's wanted to do this sort of thing, but he's like, I gotta have somebody on there, because he just knows, like, he wants someone to ask him the questions. Someone who's going to keep the things rolling. Yeah.
But no, actually. Yeah, being a stand-up comic, I kind of thought about it, and I think I could, it's a little too late in my life to go that route now, especially with the people I know, and especially who I'm married to. I don't think I could do it at this point. She would not allow it.
That's fair.
And she would not book me in her clubs that she books. So
that's such a realistic thing. My partner would not allow it. I think I think knowing that your partner has veto power is a healthy thing.
So, there's I'll show you the list of veto things later. Guess whose veto list is longer?
Fair enough.
But yeah, so there's, as far as comic books, did I want to be comic book famous? I wanted to be like Eric Powell famous. Or Jeff Smith famous.
So you wanted to be incredible drafts. You want to be incredible drafts people, amazing cartoonists.
Not obviously
legendary.
But as a writer, I'm not talking, independent guys. I wanted to be a famous independent guy.
Was there a famous independent writer? I get, what is that?
Bendis was before he went to Marvel. Kirkman.
Yeah. I guess Vaughn. Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Remender.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. But because the first 2 you mentioned, Eric Powell and Jeff Smith, my God, they're like, they are like apex predator level cartoonists.
But,
They're
I
like,
mean, but Eric Powell's never
tops.
Eric. I mean, I don't know if he's done a lot of work for the big two, if any.
Eric? No, I don't know. I don't know why they haven't had him draw Swamp Thing. I'll never know.
But I remember maybe my first or second con with Superhero Happy Hour in Ohio, at Mid Ohio Con, I met Eric Powell, and he was such a nice guy, and I want to be this guy, you know.
That's nice.
Because everybody loves Eric Powell. So I didn't want to be, I got the.
Isn't the path to all these things to be exemplary at the task, and then if there's going to be notoriety, it will come from your whatever that super thing you've done just happening to hit at the right time. It's like that to me. That seems to be the key to all of it. Is like Jeff Smith had to hone himself, and Eric Powell had to hone themselves to such a sterling degree that only then could they beat down all the resistance that independent creators have to face. I feel like it's such a monumental task that.
All right. Well, I guess. Well, thanks for shattering my dreams. I'm out of here. Good night, everybody.
No. That wasn't it. It was more like, I think. To me, I feel like this. There's also there's also the lottery quality, because for every one of those those two creators you mentioned, there's many more who are in league with them of quality, and no one's heard of them.
Yeah, no. That's why, let's go back to the feelers, back burners, many plates.
Yeah.
One of these has got to hit at the right time.
Right.
And again, I don't want to be famous to be we've talked about how D&D famous to me means I might get invited to be a guest at a gaming con, or somebody might, say, oh, Dan's a cool dude that came up with cool stuff.
I like also that a lot of people have, because I hear this question a lot from younger cartoonists, is that, how do you get to be successful? And it's like, well, successful is whatever you define it to be. And I like that you've defined that. You've said being invited as a guest.
Yeah.
Like that is a thing where it's like, because I've heard people, it's like they want to be like, they want to be invited to Angoulême, the French comic convention, and be carried around on a litter on a palanquin around, like they want to be heralded in some majestic way. I feel like it's so out of your hands. I guess that's one of the things maybe I'm a defeatist. I felt like maybe that's why I never pursued that stuff, because I felt like I'm not going to get those things, so I have to just work my ass off.
And by D&D famous, I mean, by the fans of D&D and the work and the creators in D&D or tabletop RPG, I'm known as a good guy who creates good stuff. That's it. I mean, I'm not talking Matt Mercer famous. I'm not talking endorsement deals. I'm not going to shell,
Is there a parallel that because you are carving your own path. Catacombs Comedians is its own thing. That really feels like you've got a niche that is like unique, and I think that's what opens the doors for you in a lot of ways. I mean, let's just show off the cameras and keep talking. But I really feel like that opens a lot of doors for you. You're the Catacombs. You're the D&D and comedy guy. I feel like that's a thing,
and it's starting to work out. It's starting to, you were with me at Gamehole Con when we were after hours. We were talking to the Gary Con people, and that's that's what you do. Okay, yeah, let's contact us and we'll get you in Gary Con. You saw it happen.
Yeah, I feel like that's a lot of stuff. People within communities tend not to elevate people within those communities. It's like Darwin Cook had to leave comics to come back and be Darwin Cook. I feel like when I talk to D&D people and they find out that I've done comics, that elevates them because it's outside their world. That elevates me because it's outside their world. And I feel like that is kind of a special sauce that no one else in this world brings with them. That's a very unique thing. And I think that's, I'm glad you're creating all the various things you're creating, because I love them so much. But I feel like that's keep in mind that I think you have a something unique on your character sheet, and it's a specialty. Indeed, 5e terms, an expertise that not a lot of other our compatriots have. So, and I think that's the thing to find. Everybody has to find their thing.
And mine is ADD. And I don't mean Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
You kind of do. You kind of do.
Oh, speaking of 5e, I got, and crowdfunding. Oh, I got one of my things that I got. One of the things that I backed way back in the day. Dr. Gorbart's Scientific Adventure Violence.
Oh,
notice down here. A role-playing game setting and supplement available with 5e and 5.5e.
Wow.
That's the first item I've seen that. And I just opened this out of the box this morning.
That's somehow related to Weta Workshop, isn't it?
No. I know what you're thinking of. It's a similar name, and I wish those ray guns were still available, but it's that kind of it's that kind of setting, science,
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's not so wow, 5 and 5. That's also interesting. Well, there was something I saw. It was one of the books. It was in a Michaels. It was a D&D book, and it was like for 5e games. It referred to 5e games, and that's actually the language I'm going to change on the cover of my next book. It's because I say like subclass for the 5th edition of the world's most popular role-playing game, and the change will be plural. World's most popular role-playing games. It's sort of like if Taylor Swift might be the most popular singer, and if you join her on stage, it's the world's most popular singers, because it's still her. Whatever you bring, whatever audience you bring with you, it's gonna still just be more than anyone in the world. So it's like the most popular. Even if Tales of the Valley doesn't click, or any of these other games that are 5e compatible don't click. I love that 5e is going to continue. I don't know how you say it's 5.5 compatible unless you've seen.
I think they just roll the dice, so to speak.
They're just trying to. They knew they had to print a lot of these books, and didn't want to be sitting on outdated merchandise in 3 months.
Yeah,
gotcha.
So good. They went for it.
Amazing.
Well, we'll see how that plays off, and if anybody else jumps on that sort of branding.
Yeah, I've not seen any of it. Hopefully there'll be a new OGL. Hopefully there'll be not OGL, but a new SRD. Fingers crossed.
With a Creative Commons license, like they converted the last one, and
like they promised. Never forget that they promised that. There was a wonderful recap that someone did. I think it was Bob Worldbuilder, who did a year after the OGL thing summary. I think he recorded at the end of 2023 and released it beginning of January, 1 year later. And he's basically saying, here's everything Kyle Brink promised in his apology tour. I don't think he called it an apology tour, but his atonement tour, whatever it was, scapegoat palooza. What they said 5, the next edition would have there'd be an SRD that we could all use. So, but who knows when it'll come out, because the SRD didn't come out when 5 came out. It came out after, so they have their hands full with 5.
We'll see. I mean, I think they said there was leaked that it may be released in March, but there's no way it's coming out in March. I think the new Dungeons & Dragons will come out for Gen Con in first week of August.
Yeah, that's I've heard everyone's pushing their expectations back.
So
like everyone was saying back in December, the books are printed. I've seen them, that sort of thing. They've been saying, I not me, but they have said, oh yeah, they've been printed and all this. But although the rumor mill has been churning up a lot of garbage lately. So I'm not.
It has, and it's made me angry. A lot of these clickbait type things, and
well, D&D was sold. Dan, did you see?
And speaking of Bob the World Builder,
I thought he didn't get caught flat-footed, did it? I thought he's been fairly skeptical, right?
No, but I'm just like, there's one about Joe Manganiello's Dragonlance TV show not going forward.
Yeah, the comic book had an interview with him, like you can catch the actual. They're releasing it in snippets, but Manganello seems disappointed that it's not moving forward.
But a lot of these people are saying, "Oh, Wizard of the Coast is just doing it to be assholes," and it's like, no, the Wizard of the Coast is doing it because Honor of Thieves didn't make any money. So
yeah, and Manganello's his take on it was much more nuanced in that it was part of E1, and when Hasbro sold E1, from that weird live stream D&D channel they have over on Prime on Freevee or whatever, that weird whatever the hell that is. Clearly E1 doesn't know what they're doing at this point. They're a cooking show. So they had a once they were sold, and then apparently Manganello attempted, I don't know how much Bob Worldbuilder got into it, but Manganello attempted to purchase the rights to do Dragonlance on his own.
Yeah.
And that they were like, nah, we're not going to invest in that right now. So who knows? But the most impressive thing about that is if you listen to Manganello's his thing, I was totally impressed. He was name dropping everybody who worked on 4 and everyone who worked on 5. And apparently he's a huge Mike Merles fan. So I don't know. The guy is, he knows what he's talking about.
He does. And I'm definitely I've met him briefly at a D&D event years ago in LA. And I plan on chatting up with him when I go to GaryCon next month.
Catacombs of Creators. Come on. Got to get him on there.
I've already got my Catacombs of Creators crew on there. So
I'm thinking 2025.
Yeah.
You get your Todd Stashwicks, you get your Joe Manganellos, you get your Vince Vaughns.
The All-Stars.
Uh-huh.
Eventually we'll get, when I'm D&D famous.
That's awesome.
All right. Good show.
You're great, Dan.
We went long.
Yeah. The director's cut.
And I appreciate you.
We were making up for two missed weeks. So
yeah, and there's still stuff I think I wanted to cover, but we'll cover next week.
It sounds good. Maddie, thank you so much.
Thank you for everybody popping in.
Weverwolf, good to see you.
Let everybody know that we do this every Saturday morning, 11 o'clock Eastern, or 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Make sure to check out Steve Conley's Twitch channel. He's on it all the time, or 2 or 3 times a week. I wish you start those later in the day. I always get the notification while I'm at work.
I will be starting them. I'm not going to be so fixed in my schedule anymore for those things because they are getting in the way of my ability to get work done. So I will be. I think I will be on more often, shorter bursts, and not such a fixed schedule. So you might see me staggered throughout the process. It just becomes really tough because so much of what we do is not telegenic. It's I'm working on a script. I've seen you do that, and I've seen other people do it where it's very collaborative, where people come in and they chat while you're working. I can't work like that. My writing, I need to have silence.
Some of a lot of 4D20 stuff is going to be because I'll be asking people for names for monsters and spells based on strains of pot. So
excellent.
Ooh, the Purple Haze Heaven. What should that spell do? Ooh, Aspen Gold. What should that spell do? Type of thing.
I think you're making some of these up.
Aspen Gold is actually a name of an acrylic ink that we sell at work. Actually, I play this game at work. They've got such weird names like Aspen Gold, Lavender Mist. I'm like, so I ask everybody, okay, ink name or strain of marijuana.
Excellent.
I'm really not a stoner, people. I just cashing in on this stuff. And we didn't talk about the hat.
It's a good hat.
I got beanies made too.
That's excellent.
So, and I only made these caps so I can give one to Chris Perkins.
That's excellent.
And he hasn't gotten back to me on what size he wears. But anyway, I think I'll just have to send him one. Okay. Talk to you later.
Have a good week, Dan.
As always, everybody out there, thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for watching us in later or whatever. And may you make all of your saving throws.